LSU and Ole Miss game. You know, our friend Josh Pate likes to call these games when people are coming off of losses wounded animal mode. I'm going to call it is Ole Miss in danger mode, because this happened to them a couple years ago when they went to Tuscaloosa, hyped it up. You know, everybody thought it was the year they could take them down. Yeah, and then they fell flat. But then they went on a run after that. So do you feel that Ole Miss is a dangerous team now that that drama, that hype is out of the way? They're getting some pieces back and then go play football.
Well, you know, whenever you're playing against a Lane Kiffin coach team, you're always worried about them having that game where they pop. Now, look, nobody typically plays great the week after they play Alabama, or a team that plays that physical. You look at Quinshon Judkins, is he a little more healthy than he was last week? You know, if Ole Miss, and what surprised me the most about their game plan going into Alabama was it seemed like they attacked the intermediate passing game more than they did the deep third, and use the run game. And Alabama is one of the best teams in the country at defending the intermediate pass game. And like I said earlier, Ole Miss is a run-to-pass team. Your best weapon is Quinshon Judkins. So that surprised me the way they went about it. Now, look, LSU defensively, I'm still waiting for Harold Perkins to have that game where he freaks out. This could be that game. But now that we've seen LSU secondary kind of get confused multiple times, especially when the play gets extended, you know, Ole Miss and Jackson Dart are good at keeping that play going, turning it into a scramble drill. And if LSU doesn't communicate, or there's paralysis by analysis in the back end, Ole Miss can run the checkup. Now, the other thing is, LSU, I think, can run the checkup too against this Ole Miss defense, even though Ole Miss didn't play horrible last week, you know, in the run game against Alabama. Jaden Daniels is an absolute problem right now.
He is. I mean, what Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas are able to do, I mean, just going out and, you know, catching it on top of people's heads out there against Mississippi State and Arkansas the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's been crazy. But I guess one thing I would ask you about is, you know, you said you were interested or taken aback by the strategy with Ole Miss. Do you think their scheme, their operation, their tempo was hampered by Zachary Franklin, Trey Harris, and Caden Prescorn all coming back directly off of surgery for that first game against Alabama? And is it possible that, hey, they got a little bit of that rust off and now they've worked themselves into maybe they'll be in a little bit better shape in the LSU game?
Yeah, you know, I think that's a possibility. The way I look at it is you got your weapons back. It should have spread Alabama more thin, made them more worried about having to cover multiple guys, which should have helped you in the run game. I was just surprised, even with Jackson Dart as a runner at quarterback, that they didn't try to at least pound it at Alabama a little bit more to soften up and then take that shot, because that's what Lane does. You know, he hits you, and then he hits you deep. He's trying to get those safeties manipulated, get them cheating down, and then he runs those rub routes, those different combinations that cause problems in the back end. And we've seen Alabama, especially at the safety position, have problems communicating those different combinations.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I just wonder if it's a healthy Trey Harris. You know, I wondered if they – because to me, I don't know if you saw the same thing. They're down 14 points, and I didn't see that sense of urgency, that hurry up tempo in the second half.
Well, I think a little bit of it was the defense had been on the field the whole game. You know, they weren't really extending a lot of drives. You had a couple, especially on the one they scored the touchdown on, but it seemed like Ole Miss's defense was on the field, especially in the first half, the whole half. So that's the thing about tempo. It looks great, even when you're scoring. If you're scoring at the pace you want to, the defense is still out in the field a long time. And we know Alabama, they can lean on you about as good as anybody, because while they haven't been operating at normal Alabama speed, they still have some big guys that can move you, and gravity is gravity, physics is physics. So I think there's some calculus in that. But when you're behind, especially in the second half, sometimes you got to press the gas pedal down and scream America.
Absolutely. You just got to go for it. And hey, nothing's going to happen, as you mentioned with Tennessee against South Carolina. Nothing's going to happen for this Ole Miss offense unless they find a way. And that front seven against LSU is as salty as they come. It's going to be super hard. But unless they find a way to create some kind of running room and get some kind of running game going, it doesn't matter what the weapons can do to that secondary, because I think they're just going to be able to dictate what Ole Miss has to do and put them in obvious passing downs and then rush the passer with Harold Perkins, like you said.
Yeah, well, look, balance keeps you on the beam. And I think sometimes people confuse balance with, oh, it's run to pass. Well, to me, balance is an offense that when you, especially when you're running that RPO style where you have different options within the play, mid play, making the right decision. Well, if you're able to do both things well, at some point, they're either going to have to play you even where you get the matchups you want, or they're going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul. You go heavy in the box against the run game, I'm going to pull your pants down in the pass game, and vice versa. So it's all together. Again, that's why I was so surprised. They didn't make more of an effort to at least give the threat of wanting to run the ball more to be able to make Alabama have to make that decision.
Yeah, and I think now with your back against the wall, I know Jackson Dart is your quarterback and you have to take care of him. You don't want him taking so many hits or whatever like that, but you do have a guy that played quarterback for 4 years at Oklahoma State behind him. I mean, I think you can afford to run the quarterback and try to make that happen a little bit if you need some help in the running game.
Well, if you got depth, why not use it? I mean, Jackson Dart was leading the SEC in rushing as a quarterback coming into the game, and you do have that luxury. And even behind Spencer Sanders, I know that Walker Howard doesn't have a ton of experience, but I believe that kid has a chance to be special too. So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to dance with the one that brought you. You got to be yourself. You got to do the things that make you special. And when that quarterback can run, you can truly get a hat on a hat. That's how you make the math even with that running back blocking and things like that. So, yeah, just surprised, man. I was surprised at the game plan, and they kind of got stalled out and then had to play catch up, which, believe it or not, that is not what Lane Kiffin wants to do.
Oh, yeah. And, hey, but for Ole Miss, this one is at home at Vaught Hemingway, and guess what? It's kind of at that perfect 5:30 or 5 o'clock local time there, Central Time. They've been in the Grove, but they hadn't been in the Grove. You know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe they're not too sauced to cheer in there. It might be loud for them at Ole Miss.
Oh, no, look, it's a lot different when you're playing at home. I mean, you get to sleep in your bed. You get to go through the routine that you're used to. So, yeah, look, I expect Ole Miss to come out fired up. I don't think they're going to be totally drained from last week, and they need this one. Look, if you're going to stay in the race for the SEC West, you need to at least split Alabama and LSU to give yourself a chance down the road.
No problem. And real quick, we'll go back to what's your lean on the South Carolina-Tennessee? Who are you picking on that one?
Man, I just like Tennessee because, again, I think Spencer's going to keep South Carolina in the game, but I just think Tennessee overall up front is better. I don't think they're going to be taken advantage of in the run game on defense in the front seven like Florida did. That really helped Graham Mertz settle in. I just think overall they're the better team. And again, I think South Carolina, wouldn't be surprised if you get something wonky that happens early. Spencer makes a big play down the field or extends a play, shakes a tackle, and finds somebody down the field. I think Trey Knox may have a sneaky good game, the tight end who actually transferred from Arkansas to South Carolina, but I like Tennessee. Betting wise, though, I'm not touching that line.
And who do you like in the prediction wise and then betting wise in LSU and Ole Miss?
I like LSU to win the game. I like LSU to cover the -2.5. I just think Jaden Daniels, I mean, he's so special. His running ability is such a problem. And then you look at Neighbors and Thomas and what they're doing, man, it's absolutely incredible.
And they got Logan Diggs now running the ball too. We didn't talk about him, but I think that adds a big element that they needed in that LSU offense.
Well, everything's been overshadowed by the wide receiver play and then obviously Jaden Daniels. So the running game's been good enough. I still think they want more out of it. And if that last element comes in, I mean, this LSU offense is going to just continue to cook and cook and cook.